Hi everyone, Leah here from EurekaCrystalBeads.com with another beading video for you. Before I get started, as always, just a quick reminder to go check out the rest of our channel, and if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button and notification bell and you'll always know when we're posting new content. So today what I'm going to show you how to do is a really fun, quick, easy project I'm calling the Ava Snowflake Pendant. And this is a lot of fun, and what's nice is that it's a really great beginner project. I mean, it's a beautiful project for any skill level, but if you've never worked with two-hole beads before, this would be a really nice little introduction, and it's a little immediate gratification because in just a short amount of time, you'll have a beautiful little finished product. Now, I have it done here as a pendant. Of course, you could make a second one and have a lovely pair of earrings. You could certainly use this as a component and repeat it for a bracelet. So there's a lot of options with this, but for the sake of the video, we're going to do it as a pendant that will end up having a jump ring at the top just to help it sit correctly on a chain or a cord. This actually would look lovely on some cord, I think. So to give you a close-up of what I'm using and the colors I'm going to be using today, I have some Ava beads here. This will take 4 Ava beads to make a pendant. Obviously, if you were making earrings, you would want to double all of this. So we have 4 Ava beads here. I have 4 3mm crystals, and I'm using Crystal Cal 2 times for the 4. Sorry, this is 3mm crystals. I have a jump ring here that'll come at the end. And then I have some 4mm crystal here, also in Crystal Cal 2 times. And I have a size 15 seed bead. This is a Miyuki. My sample has a Toho. They're usually interchangeable, though not always, but in this case they will be interchangeable. So Miyuki or Toho is totally fine. All right, I have a few feet of 6-pound fire lines strung up on a size 12 needle. And what I'm going to do is start off with my 3mm crystals and my Ava beads. And they're going to sit in this nice little V pattern. I'll actually show you in my hand a little closer up. They're going to sit about like that. Almost sort of like a 4-leaf clover a little bit. And if you're not familiar with an Ava bead, so it's kind of a V-shaped or a chevron bead. It's considered a 3-hole bead, so that's where you'll find it on our website is under the 3-hole check glass beads, but we'll link you below to this exact color if that's easier as well. But it has the first hole running through the point there, and then it has a hole coming off the end of each arm here. So you can string straight through it, but they're considered 2 separate holes because they're on 2 separate parts of the bead. So it is considered a 3-hole bead. So I'm going to start by picking up a 3mm crystal, and I'm going to go through that hole at the very bottom point of the Ava bead. And I'll give you a close-up of all of this as well. I'm going to do that again. 3mm crystal, go through the point of the Ava bead, 3mm crystal, same spot on the Ava bead, 3mm crystal, and the Ava bead. So this is what you'll have, just like that. So you've used 4 Ava beads and 4 crystals. Now you're going to circle back and go through all of those beads again, so that way your needle pops out the same place that your thread is popping out, your working thread. So just carefully go through all those. You may not be able to go through them all at once, but you can certainly try like I am. There we go. Bring all this down because we want to close these into a little circle, which, as you can see, just happened. Now to help secure that circle, I am going to take my tail and my working thread. I'm going to tie them in a square knot. This is just going to help to tighten it up a little bit more. So that's right over left and then left over right. If you're not familiar with a square knot, it's like a double knot, but you do that second knot backwards, just like that. And this is what we have to start with, which in and of itself is just, I think, lovely. It's a beautiful little shape. But as I worked on it, it just started to remind me of a snowflake. And I think this would be a really cute little gift, actually, for people this holiday season because it's going to be fairly inexpensive and fast to make. So it's a pretty little gift. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the next crystal and the next Ava bead. Just because I never like to start my beadwork coming off of a knot like I am, I like to start my beadwork coming out of a bead, versus coming off the knot that's in between two beads. So I'm going to go through that crystal and that Ava bead, because the next step, it's important that I start it by coming out of an Ava bead. So, okay, let me dump some of my 15s out here. Some of my 4mm crystals. And at any point that you want to stick a needle on this tail and weave it in, you certainly can. I probably will wait a little bit longer before I do that, so I have more beadwork to weave it into. But at any point during the project, if that gets too annoying, just take a break and weave it out and tie some half hitch knots. Okay, so what we have here now is we have a long space in between where the thread is coming out of that lower hole in the Ava bead and then where we want to be, which is this upper hole. So we have to pick up 5 of our 15s and head right into the upper hole there. Okay, and that's going to cover our thread. Now I'm going to pick up a 15, a 4mm crystal, and a 15, and I'm going to go right across and go into the other top hole of the V of the same Ava bead. And you'll see that everything just sort of fits in there nicely. Now I'm going to pick up 5 more 15s because we're going to go down the other side of the same Ava bead. So we have the 15s right here. Now we need to put in the 15s that are right here. So I'm going to go through the hole of the Ava bead. So we're still working all around the same Ava bead. And that's what we get. Now to continue to do this around the next Ava bead, I'm going to go through the 3mm crystal that's right in between them, and then through the hole, the bottom hole of the next Ava bead. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to repeat that. So it's going to be 5 15s, go through the top hole of the Ava bead. I'm going to pick up a 15, 4mm crystal and a 15, go right across the V of that Ava bead, plug that right in, and then pick up 5 more 15s to go down the opposite side. And when I go into that bottom hole of the Ava bead, if my needle can, you can just let it go right through that 3mm crystal next as well, because we're going to have to do this over the next Ava bead, and then through that bottom hole of the next Ava bead. So just to review, we pick up 5 15s, we head on up into the top hole of the right side of the Ava bead. We pick up a 15, a 4mm crystal and a 15, and we plug that in right in between the V and go through the hole on the left side of the Ava bead. We pick up 5 15s and we head down the other side, the left side of the Ava bead, through the hole of the bottom hole of the Ava, through the 3mm crystal, and then through the bottom hole of the next Ava bead that we're going to be doing this to. So I'm going to take a quick pause, and when we come back in just a second, I'm going to have done this over the other 2 Ava beads. Okay, so I came back just shy of finishing up. So the only thing I have left to do is plug in the 5 15s that are going to go down the final side of this final Ava bead. And the reason that I wanted you to see that is just so that way you can clearly see what I'm going to do right after that. So I'm going to go down and go through the hole of the Ava to plug those in. Just like this. So this gives you a pretty idea of what we have now. I think this is just lovely, even as it is. Again, there are many stopping points in this project where it would look beautiful just as it is, and you certainly don't have to keep going for it to be a pretty little finished component. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up the size 15s, the 5 size 15s that are on the opposite side of the same Ava that I just finished up working around. Just head right on up. Now I'm going to go through the Ava, the 15, the 4mm, the 15, and then the other side of the Ava again. And I'm going to go down through the first of the two 15s, the first of the size 15s that are there, that group of 5, just down through the top one. Okay, and now just a 4mm crystal. So I went down 1 15 here, picked up a 4mm crystal, hopped right over and went up the top 15 of the next Ava. You're going to see how this will just plug the crystal in beautifully. So again, we're going to head right across the next Ava. So that's going through the right side of the V of the next Ava. The beads in the middle of the V, which are the 15, the 4mm bicone, the 15, and then out the left side of that Ava. You can't always get through all of them at once due to the angle of the hole of the Ava, so just go through what you can. Okay, so that's where we are. We're coming out of the top hole of that Ava. We're going to go down. Let me give you a good view. We're going to go down that first 15 of that group of 5. Pick up a 4mm bicone, go up the top 15, and it's going to plug it right in. So I'm just going to keep going around, and to do this 2 more times, you'll see we have an empty spot here and an empty spot here. So I'm just going to keep going around to plug in the 4mm bicone here, and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I'm about to plug in that last 4mm crystal, so I'm going to go up the top hole of the opposite row of 5 15s, plug that little 4mm crystal right in there, and now what I want to do is I want to travel through the Ava until I'm coming out of the crystal that's in the middle of that Ava. So I'll go through the Ava, the 15, and then the crystal, and then I'll stop. All right, so that's where you want to be. Okay, so now I'm going to pick up 6 15s, and we're going to start to work on our bail area. I'm going to circle back through the very same crystal, just loop back around. Just like that, so you can see that my needle is popping out of the same side of the crystal that my thread is. I'm just going to pop those up just so they sit evenly at the top. And now I'm going to head right up and go into the first 3 of those beads. I'm going to flip my work here just so it's more comfortable. Just keep going in that circle so you've gone through the first 3 of the 15s that you just put on. And I'm going to pick up another 15 and I'm going to go down the other 3. And what this will do is this will help this new 15 just sort of pop up a little bit more and sit at a nice little point. And I really, really love using that technique, and we're going to do that a few times in the next loop as well. And I think it just adds a nice dimension, a nice touch of detail. So I'm going to go through that crystal again so we can loop back around. Make sure not to go through the beads after it. Only that crystal. Pull that through. And I'm going to go back up into my little group of 15s here, so I'm coming out of the little 15 that we just added at the very tip. So pretty. Okay. Now I'm going to pick up 6 15s. And I'm going to loop back around and go through the seed bead that I'm coming out of, the 15 that I'm currently coming out of. Turn your work if you have to. And now I'm going to go through up into the first 15 of the group that I just added. So just keep going up into that follow that same thread path that's there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up another 15 and I'm going to go through the next 15, pick up another 15, go through the next 15, and we're going to do that all the way around. So we'll add on a group of 5 15s total to this loop, going through 1 bead in between each one. And what you want to see is when you pull it tight, that 15 that we just added, I'll give you a close-up, is going to sort of pop out a little bit to the side. So now we're going to pick up another 15 and then go right through the very next 15. This isn't like peyote. We're not skipping over a bead or anything. We're going through the very next bead. And again, you can see that it pops out a little bit. This is the one I added right there. And it just pops out. We're going to do that again. Go through the next 15. And again, go through the next one. I'll give you a close-up once it's done. And then once more. So we started with a loop of 6. We looped, or a group of 6 15s. We looped back around to create into a loop. And then we went through the first of that loop and then added in a total of 5 of these 15s. You can see it really adds such a loveliness to that little beaded loop, and really it's so much about the details here, folks. And another thing I like about it is it's very reminiscent of the shape of the pendant as well. So it's a nice way to tie them both together. As long as you have it pulled nice and tight, you'll get those little pops coming off. So now we're really on the home stretch. I'm going to cross that top 15 again, the one that we added and created this loop off of. Just cross through it again. Head back down the side of the original 6. So we have the 3, and again, I'll show you a nice close-up. Okay, just so we're heading back down, because now it's going to be just a matter of weaving out our thread and adding our jump ring, and then it's all done. So just head right into your beadwork, and I'm going to show you how to tie some half hitch knots in case you don't know how to do that. And things might start to get a little bit tight in here. That's okay. Just take the extra time to really make sure your needle is sticking into the right place. Okay. Okay, so if you don't know how to weave out a thread, you're going to look at where your working thread is exiting your beadwork. And right where it's exiting your beadwork, it's essentially going to be in between 2 beads, the bead that you're coming out of and the bead right after it. So you're going to just dig your needle down, so that way you can be behind the thread that's going through those 2 beads. You pull almost all the way through, you get a little beaded loop. You get a little threaded loop, and you go through it and just carefully close that knot right in the same exact spot that your thread was coming out of your beadwork. It's important just to make sure that your knot or that loop, as you're closing it down, doesn't hop over the next bead, which can sometimes happen if you're not careful, and then you will see thread on the outside, and you never want to see thread on the outside of your beads, of course. So I went through the next crystal, because I'm going to do my weaving out just around this outer rim. It's also going to help to reinforce this and make it a little stronger, since we have crystals here. As I'm sure we all know, crystals do have sharper edges than many other beads. So again, I just dug my needle right underneath the thread that's passing through those beads. Pull almost all the way through, go through your loop, close it down. So I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to finish weaving out my working thread and my tail, and then we'll come back and we'll just finish it off with the jump ring in a minute. Okay, so I have my working thread and my tail thread both woven out with some half hitch knots and snipped off. We can see our almost finished pendant. So to add the jump ring, you're simply going to need 2 pairs of chain nose or flat nose pliers. I prefer chain nose because of the tapered point that they have. And you're going to grab that jump ring on either side of the opening, and you're going to swivel it open. Always make sure you swivel jump rings open. You never want to open them like this. You always want to swivel, so it keeps them stronger. Slide that right on, and this will allow your cord or your chain or whatever you're going to wear this on to have the pendant sit the correct way. Make sure that your jump ring is nice and closed. And there you have it, folks. An adorable little pendant. Again, I think this would look absolutely beautiful on some cord, or even just like a delicate silver chain, or depending on your colors, maybe a gold chain, whatever you like. or as, like I said, as earrings. This actually would even be lovely if you did a very simple beaded bracelet and had one of these hanging off down at the clasp. That would actually be a beautiful way to have a lovely accent hanging off of a bracelet. So consider that as well. So these are the two that I have here. So you can see in two different color schemes. Super fun. Absolutely love them. The Ava Snowflake Pendant. All right, well, that wraps it up, folks. Thanks for watching. Make sure to visit us on over at EurekaCrystalBeads.com for everything that I used in this video. We will link you below to them directly as well. And come back and watch some more of the videos and learn more great things. Bye, everyone.